Welcome to Whiteboard Programming, where we simplify programming with easy to understand whiteboard videos. And today I'll be sharing with you the types of penetration testing and approaches we have in it. So let's get started. First off, we must not forget that penetration testing has become a widely adopted security practice by organizations in the recent years. And while the primary purpose here is to expose vulnerabilities or exploit weaknesses in the system, it's important to note that the main goal of a pen test is often tied to a business objective with an overall business strategy. And for the same, we must first understand what are the different approaches to penetration testing, as individual penetration tests differ both in their approach and in the weakness they attempt to exploit. Also, it's important to note that the level of information provided to a pen tester primarily determines their approach as well as the scope of the project. The different approaches to penetration testing include black box, white box, and gray box. Let's understand each one of them one by one. Number 1. Black box penetration testing. It is also known as external penetration testing, and during this, the pen tester is given little to no information regarding the IT infrastructure of the business. The main benefit of this testing method is to stimulate a real-world cyber attack. Thereby, the pen tester assumes the role of an uninformed attacker. A black box penetration test can take up to 6 weeks to complete, which makes it one of the longest types of penetration test. Businesses can expect to pay anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000 due to the level of effort involved in planning, performing, testing, and completing the report. This, of course, all depends on the scope of the project. One of the easiest ways for pen testers to break into the system during a black box test is by deploying a series of exploits known to work, and this method of testing is also referred to as trial and error approach. However, there is a high degree of technical skill involved in the process. Number 2. White box penetration testing. It is also known as clear box testing, glass box testing, or internal penetration testing. The concept refers to when the pen tester has full knowledge and access to the source code and environment. The goal of white box penetration test is to conduct an in-depth security audit of a business's system and to provide the pen tester with as much detail as possible. As a result, the tests are more thorough because the pen tester has the access to areas which are not available to black box testing, such as quality of code and application design. But do take a note that it's also not that too easy. White box tests do have their disadvantages as well. For instance, given the level of access the pen tester has, it can take longer to decide what areas to focus on first. In addition, this method of testing often requires sophisticated and expensive tools such as code analyzers and debuggers. White box tests can take up to 2 to 3 weeks to complete and cost anywhere between $4,000 to $20,000. Further, do note that in the end, it doesn't matter whether you perform a black box or a white box penetration testing, as long as the primary goal of the test is being met. Number 3. Gray box penetration testing. During a gray box penetration test, the pen tester has partial knowledge or access to an internal network or web application. A pen tester may begin with user privileges on a host and be told to escalate their privileges to domain admin, or they could be asked to get access to a software code and system architecture diagrams. One main advantage of gray box testing is that reporting provides more focused and efficient assessment of your network's security. Next, let's talk about types of penetration testing. The different types of penetration testing include: Number 1. Network services penetration testing. So network service penetration testing or infrastructure testing is one of the most common types of penetration testing performed. The main purpose here is to identify the most exposed vulnerabilities and security weaknesses in a network infrastructure, that is, servers, firewalls, switches, routers, printers, workstations, etc. of an organization before they can be exploited. Number 2. Web application penetration testing. Web application penetration testing is used to discover vulnerabilities or security weaknesses in a web-based application, and it uses different penetration techniques and attacks with aim to break into the web application itself. The typical scope of this testing includes web-based applications, browsers, and their components such as ActiveX plugins, Silverlight, and applets. These types of tests are far more detailed and targeted, and therefore are considered to be more complex in nature. In order to complete a successful test, the endpoints of every web application that interacts with the user on a regular basis must be identified carefully. This exercise requires a fair amount of effort and time from planning to executing the test and finally compiling a useful report. Number 3. Client-side penetration testing. Now, it is used to discover vulnerabilities or security weaknesses in a client-side application. These could be a program or application such as PuTTY, email clients, and web browsers like Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. And also, programs like Adobe Photoshop and Microsoft Office Suite are subjected to testing. Number 4. Wireless penetration testing. Wireless penetration testing involves identifying and examining the connection between all devices connected to a business's Wi-Fi. These devices include laptops, tablets, smartphones, and any other IoT devices. It is required because these wireless communications are invisibly running services that allow data to flow in and out of the network. Therefore, this wireless network must be secured from any weaknesses like unauthorized access or data leakage. Wireless penetration tests are typically performed on-site as the pen tester needs to be in range of wireless signal to access it. Alternatively, a NUC and Wi-Fi Pineapple can be deployed on-site to remotely perform the test. Number 5. Social engineering. Social engineering penetration testing is when a malicious actor attempts to persuade or trick users into giving them sensitive information such as a username and a password. Some of the most common social engineering attacks used by pen testers include phishing attacks, vishing, smishing, and tailgating. According to recent statistics, 98% of the cyber attacks rely on social engineering, and this is because internal users are one of the biggest threats to a network security, and that's why social engineering tests and awareness programs have proven to be one of the most effective methods of mitigating an attack. Number 6. Physical penetration testing. Now, physical penetration testing simulates a real-world threat whereby a pen tester attempts to compromise the physical barriers to access businesses' infrastructure. For example, building, system, or employees. Physical barriers are often an afterthought for most businesses. However, if a malicious actor is able to gain physical access to your server room, then they could own your network. Now just imagine the impact that it might have on your business, on your customers, and as well as on your business partnerships. The primary benefit of a physical penetration test is to expose weaknesses and vulnerabilities in the physical control such as locks, barriers, cameras, or sensors, etc. so that flaws can be addressed quickly and fixed. Through identifying these weaknesses, proper mitigations can be put in place to strengthen the physical security posture. Lastly, do note that each type of penetration test requires specific knowledge, methodologies, and tools to perform and should align with a specific business goal. With that, I hope this video was helpful to you and served value. If you love my content, feel free to smash that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do, as it keeps me motivated and helps me create more content like this for you.